Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the episode, I need you to do the 3 S's for me. What is that? First of all, I need you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode of our podcast. Number 2, I need you to share it with your family and friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. Lastly, I need you to say something. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see from us, what you like, what you don't like. We are open to your suggestions. We want to know everything that you want to let us know about the podcast. All right. Now, get back to the episode. All right. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and I believe that the relationship between a dad and his daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young woman's life. And therefore, our mission is to promote the voices of the girl dads to the world in order to combat the narrative of the absent father and the fatherless daughter. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you listen, like, subscribe, and share our podcast on all of ours and your social media platforms. Also, make sure you guys are checking us out on our YouTube channel, which is under the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Again, that's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, where you not only will find the podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, but you also will find our partner podcast, which is the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. So make sure you guys go and check us out there. Also, our product of the week, one of the things that, you will hear us talk about today is our Core 4 ebook, right? The Core 4, which is the core 4 values that every daughter should get from her father. We'll actually talk a little bit about it a little more into the podcast, but that is an ebook that I wrote. You can get your copy of the Core 4 at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. That is our product of the week, because we bring amazing products for you to purchase in order to help us to stay on the air. That being said, we're going to jump right into this thing today. Just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Mr. Ralph. How you doing?
I am well. How are you, man?
I am good, man. I'm good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been anywhere else doing anything else, but you're here with me and my listeners. We definitely appreciate you, man. We're going to jump right into this thing. Do me a favor, Ralph. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do.
Yeah, so my name is Ralph Jean-Paul. I'm the founder of RJP Speaks, and I'm a leadership development consultant. So I've been traveling around the country speaking to leaders about how to bridge the gap between manager and team. The whole purpose is to increase performance. We want to decrease turnover and then enhance team engagement. I'm a family man. I've been married for almost 10 years now. I'm about to celebrate 10 years in actually 2 weeks. And I have 2 kids. I have a 6-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl, and I absolutely love being a dad. And today we're going to talk about girl dads. We're going to have that discussion. I'm excited to get into it, man. Looking forward to it.
No doubt. I'm glad to have you here. For my listeners, I actually have Ralph on the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast as well. So when you guys finish watching this episode, make sure you go over to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast and look up Ralph's interview there. But we're gonna jump right into this thing, man. Ralph, talking about you mentioned you have a son and a daughter. Even though this particular podcast we focus more on the daughters, but what's your son's name and your daughter's name and their ages?
Yeah, so my son is Cameron. He's 6 years old, and baby girl is Rianne, and she's 3 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the girl came second. Now I'm sure she's already spoiled already.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Probably already running the house. And also congratulations on your anniversary coming up, man. So here's my first question.
Yeah.
How did you find out that you were going to be a dad, even though this is the second time? But how did you find out you were going to be a dad? Were you guys planning to, an addition
Yeah.
for your family, or did it just kind of happen as in the flow of things?
Yeah, in the flow of things, that's hilarious. I love that. Yeah, so we were planning to have a second child, but she came a little earlier than what we were planning. So it was one of those things like, hey, I think we might be ready. I think we're ready. And then before we got to the point we were ready, it was like, hey,
Ready or
we're
not?
pregnant, ready or not, she's gonna be here. So yeah, I remember it was super exciting because we had a boy at a time, and
Mhm.
I was excited to find out what we were gonna have. And I still remember we did the whole gender reveal thing, and when we twisted the little confetti thing and it was all pink, I was like, yes, yes, I'm excited because we got a boy. Now we have a girl, and it was a beautiful moment, man. So I was elated, and when she got here, it was even more special.
Yeah, and so that was going to be one of my follow up questions. That did you guys wait
Yeah,
to find out the sex of the baby? But you did. You said you guys did the gender reveal.
yeah.
But so how was it? So definitely being a boy dad first, right?
Mhm.
And what's the age difference? Maybe 3 years.
3 years, yeah, about 3 years, almost 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. So by that time, you were already rocking and rolling
Yeah.
with your son. So being a new dad and bringing this daughter home for the first time, how was that experience? You know, different from your son, but then just how was that experience? Of a daughter, period, because you definitely take on a different mindset
Mhm.
as fathers when we have a daughter. So you bring your daughter home for the first time, and now it's like, we done with the hospital. All of that is done. Now it's all on me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So how was kind of that mindset and that experience?
Yeah, I think with the second one, I felt a little bit more confident because I felt like we already had a kid. I've been 3 years on the job, and I'm
Yeah,
not doing a bad job. So with this new one, I think I'm gonna be just fine. And honestly, man, she just changed the whole narrative and shattered all the expectations that I had. I thought like I was fully equipped. Like, man, I've done this for 3 years, and baby girl was just a completely different child. I also remember, like what you were saying, it was a different mindset too. It's like I'm bringing my little princess home. So there was a level of like heightened sensitivity. I think
right.
even more with the first one because that's my baby girl. Not to say she's more important than my boy, but it just hit different because I'm her father. So like that protection level was even stronger than with the boy.
Yeah, yeah. And even with you saying that, so recently, a speaker that we both know, because we both are speakers, professional speakers, should I say? But there's another speaker that we both know, Jared Scott,
Yeah,
and him and
yeah,
his wife just had their little girl. So he's a new girl dad. I think they have two sons, and now they just had the girl dad. And he
yeah.
posted a video, and one of the videos was like, he was super protective already, right? So it's like
Already.
first they sitting down on the couch to take a
Yeah,
picture with the baby, and he had both of his sons, one on each side, and his wife as well. And so they're like, reaching to touch her. He already like,
yeah. Watch
blocking
out.
their hands, like
Watch
don't
out.
even touch her. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
You
saying?
you know what's interesting is I had a similar experience, but in a different way with my son. So our thing was, he's at that time he's 3 years old. When I go to the store, he usually comes to the store with me. When I go somewhere, he rides with me. Like he's daddy's boy. Like that's my dog. And I remember, I think my baby girl was like 2 weeks old, and I was like, I'm going to the store. I was like, hey, Papa, you want to go to the store with me? He was like, no. And I was like, what you mean? I was like, I'm going to the store. You want to come with me? He's like, no, I'm gonna stay here. Man, it broke my little heart. But I was like, I think I know what he's doing. I think that whole protective nature, he
Mhm.
has it too. He's like, Daddy, I'm not leaving her. And she wasn't gonna be left alone. She's with her mama, bro. Let's go.
Right.
But I think he was like, nah, man, I think she needs me. So
Yeah, yeah.
there's just the protection is just it's just heightened, man. It's a little different.
Yeah, yeah, I love it, man. I love it. One of the things that I know, right? And even though your daughter's still young, like you said, she when she came into you guys' life, she automatically was changing things already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'd like to ask, what is something that your daughter has taught you? Because as fathers, we're always pouring into our children, to
Mhm.
teach them different, values and things of that nature. But what we don't often realize is that we're being taught at the same time. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So just reflecting on the couple years that you've had with your daughter since she's been, on this earth, what is something that she's taught you that you just like, man, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, she's definitely taught me a lot, and one of the biggest things is, man, she's taught me, I would say, to reset my expectations. She's
Mhm.
taught me to really be in the moment. She's taught me to really learn her and not just our, this is our second child who we expected to be like the first child. Because here's what I thought. I thought whatever we did with the first one, we'll do with the second one, and they'll just blend in. They'll just do what the first one did, because in
Yeah.
my mind it's like, okay, if they're growing up in the same home, if the routines are the same, if the structures and vibes are the same, then we'll pretty much have the same people, except one's a boy, one's a girl. She showed me like, nah, dad, I'm me, I'm different. And it's you're always gonna, I think sometimes we say like you shouldn't compare your kids. I think you're gonna compare the kids just by
Mhm.
nature. If you have multiple
Yeah.
kids, you're gonna be like, oh, this one's this one, this one's that one. So I think it's okay to compare the kids. What's not okay is to hold them to each other's standards, like
Mhm.
to compare them to a detriment, to say things like, well, you're not like your brother does this and
Mhm.
you don't do that. I think that's unfair to a child. So what my baby girl taught me is that I'm my own person. My son, so whenever I open up my keynotes, I usually say that I have two beautiful kids, and my son is like a sunset and my daughter's like a sunrise. They're equally beautiful, but the energies are different.
Yeah.
My son is very calm, very peaceful. My daughter is on 100 the minute she wakes up. And so early on, I wasn't used to that because I expected her to be my little princess who's calm, who's peaceful, who hugs daddy all the time and do all these different things. And early on, she wasn't about that life, man. And so I had to learn to really see her and not say things like, well, I wish you were more calm. I wish you were more this. I wish you were more that. What she's saying is, and even at a young age, she's looking at me. I'm thinking she's saying, man, I just wish you would learn me. And so as
Mhm.
parents, if we don't learn to accept their differences, then we do start to compare them, and we compare them. Now we pin them against each other. So she taught me to really understand that personalities are different. They can grow up in the same home, but they don't have to be the same people. And
Yeah.
she really, really helped me with that, because I'll tell you this thing too is, I remember when she was younger, and I was listening to a sermon that really helped me out with that. She was just different, bro. I remember she was maybe like 8 or 9 months old, and I said something to her, and she looked at me. She goes, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what was that?" Like I could tell there was a different fire in her. You know what I'm saying? She started doing things earlier than my boy did. Like she was just a little bit more bold. Like she would go up the stairs and not be afraid to do certain things at a young age. And I remember thinking like, man, there's just a little fire inside of her. How do I control it? How do I dim it down? And I was listening to this sermon, and the pastor said, fire contained provides warmth. Fire outside of containment can burn and destroy. And what God
Mhm.
was revealing to me in that moment is, you don't need to dim her fire. You just need to help her contain the fire.
Yeah.
So that way it provides warmth and it doesn't destroy. So once I started to have that perspective, I'm like, oh, okay, she can be fiery, but we just need to
Yeah.
make sure that she finds ways to contain that, because we don't want to extinguish her fire.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I want to go back to one thing that you said about um, having two kids brought up in the same household, but being
Yeah,
completely different. So I
completely
talk a
different.
lot about my brother, and I actually shared one speech that I did with him, because I talk
Mhm.
about him all the time, because we're our exact opposites, right?
Yeah.
So my brother is literally 1 year and 11 days younger than me. So my
Hmm.
birthday is May 1st. I was born in 76. His birthday is May 11th. He was born in 77. So literally almost like exact 1 year apart.
Mm-hmm.
But we're total opposites, right? So growing up, I would always say, you got your good son and the bad son, and I was the good son and he was the bad son,
Yeah.
right? Same household, same two-parent household, should I
Yeah.
say? Same sisters and brothers, same upbringing, but he was just that child that was just like, you know what? I want to do my own thing,
Mm-hmm.
and so unfortunately, he was just drawn to I would say negative things. You know what I mean? So everything that you wanted to get into as a young boy coming up,
Yeah.
in the streets of Chicago, gangs, drugs, all those things. That's what that from an early age. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going this way. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that didn't play out well in our household because my dad wasn't having it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But my brother used to always say, you know what? I'm gonna get a whooping anyway. I might as well have fun. You know what I'm saying? So he would wild out, he
Yeah.
would do some crazy stuff, but just the opposite of me, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I was a rule follower, you know what I mean? And I was really focused on my achievements in school and things of that nature. So just different personalities. But
Mm-hmm.
again, we're only a year apart. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So same, like I said, same household, same parents, same everything, but just two total different people.
Yeah.
You know,
You know what I think? I think sometimes although same household, but they don't experience the same parent. So
yeah,
like there's things that I've learned since I've had my first that like the experience is a little bit different for my second child. Like although we might think that it's the same parent in the same household, man, there's adjustments that I've made that I didn't make with the first one. Now I'm making it with the second one. And then the other thing I think that happens with because people say like, man, the second child be wild, and that's what they say. So that's why I pray with my baby girl. I pray with my baby girl, and I'm not concerned about her wilding out. I'm really not, because what happened is God has allowed me to identify early on her difference and to be able to deal with her difference. Her difference doesn't scare me anymore.
right,
Her fire doesn't scare me because it's like, oh man, she's gonna need this someday. So I need to find ways to fuel it, but help her do it in the right environment. But
right.
I think because I've learned those lessons, if you were to sit my two kids down, and we're talking about later on down in life, right? Like the values are gonna be the same, but the way they experience that, I think is gonna be different. Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with you because even thinking about how the relationship with my dad and myself, my dad and my brother, I think it probably was fueled from our difference in our personalities, but they were different lessons that I didn't have to learn that my dad had to be harder on my brother
Yeah.
because he just was, like I said, he just wanted to do his own thing.
Yeah.
And so like one of the things my dad used to always say to my brothers, like, you don't have any friends. You know what I mean? It's like the only friends you have is inside this house, right? Because it's 9 of us. So I have 8 siblings. It's 5. I have 5 brothers, 5 sisters, and 3 brothers. So it's 9 of us all together. I'm the oldest boy, and he's the second oldest boy. But like I said, my brother just was attracted to a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
That we didn't live,
Yeah.
and so he was always like, like I'm going with my friends, and those friends weren't always going in the right direction, and so my dad was always harder on my brother, and I think he needed to be, because even with as hard as he was on my brother still went that way, and I think that if he was even less, should I say, even more relaxed on him, he probably would have went even further. You know what I'm saying? Because if he went as far, left, should I say, with restraints that my parents had on him, how far would he have went if he had no restraints? You know what I'm saying? Because that was just his personality. Just at a young age, he knew, just like, I'm about this street life. You know what I'm saying? And he just went head on that way. So yeah, I do think that too, that you do get a different version of your kids, or should I say your kids get a different version of you. But I think that's important because, like you said, you're not comparing them, but you got to get to know them individually.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? You got to get to know their personalities and what makes them click and what makes them, who they are. And my experience, as a speaker, I shared this, my experience with my dad. I had an experience with my dad all the way back to 2nd grade. And this is crazy because me and my brother was talking about this recently, but going back to 2nd grade, I failed 2nd grade. right? Because I was always a smart kid, but I wanted to be liked, should I say,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so one of my friends who was in my same class, he was like the class clown, the popular kid, and so I was always shy, but he was like my best friend. So I'm like, all right, whatever he do, I'm doing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So he was Batman, I was Robin. I'm just going along for the ride and not taking responsibility and doing what I needed to do. And I ended up failing second grade. But I remember having this conversation with my dad after the report cards came out. And you know what I'm saying? When we back then, corporal punishment was a thing. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So I remember coming in the living room and my dad standing there and he has my report card in one hand and he has his belt in his other hand, and so it's like, all right, you got to come in here and answer for these grades. And I'm like I said, the first son, so I'm Ernest Jr. My dad is senior, and so he started talking to me, and he's like, I'm disappointed in you, and so we have this whole conversation, and he didn't even discipline me that day. He was just like,
Mm-hmm.
go to your room, you know what I'm saying? But that the impact of that conversation changed the direction of my life.
Yeah.
From then.
Yeah.
From then, I became an honor roll student, because I was always in that mindset of making my parents proud.
Yeah.
So that became part of who I am, and still as part of who I am to this day. My brother didn't have that what I'm saying, that moment. He
Yeah.
didn't. My brother didn't even remember the fact that I failed. So now this years later, we're grown adults and
Yeah.
we're having a conversation. And I'm like, yeah, I failed, second grade or whatever. He's like, what, you failed? I said, yeah. He was like, I've never known you to fail at anything. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, because I failed so early. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I failed
Yeah.
so early. So I was already, had kind of, changed my ways at that point. By the time he got to the point where he started making mistakes, I already was on a roll, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like going in my direction or whatever. And so just that one thing that changed my perspective and my relationship with my dad, because now I'm like, the good son. So now I'm
Yeah.
just like, everything is on point.
Yeah.
I'm going to class. I graduated, honor roll student, graduated from high school in 3 years instead of 4. I was just on my thing. He didn't have that same interaction, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And so then throwing the fact that he has a different personality and he's going his way, that bumped heads with my dad too. So now you're
Yeah.
gonna get a different version
A
of my
different
dad.
version. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because my
Yeah.
dad trying to save him from the street life that he's kind of running head on into. So now, if I can put it this way, now my dad got to come a little more edgy with him.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So there was
Yeah.
interactions that I've never had with my dad that I watched him have with my brother. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like he had to hem him up a couple times. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, you're not gonna be in these streets. You know what I'm saying? But my brother was determined. He's in a better place now. You know
Good.
what I'm
Good.
saying?
Good. Good.
He's good, but he was wilding out as a
Good.
youngster. And my
I'm
dad
glad. I'm
was
so
like,
glad
I
to
don't
hear
know
that.
what's going on with this boy.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that, man. He turned the corner. I love
Yeah,
it.
but he's good now. But just to go back, to the whole point of it was you have these same, the same environment,
Mm-hmm.
but produce two different fruit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's just the thing. We don't know. We could try our best, even as parents, to instill the same, same values, same structure, same love and everything. But that don't mean you're going to produce the same persons. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Everybody has their own ideas and their own personalities. So I want to go. I want to go. One of the things that I was able to do this year, right? And I don't know. I think probably mentioned it to you at one point in our conversations. But one of the things that I was able to do this year recently, we did our first daddy daughter dance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which was sponsored by the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And the reasoning behind even wanting to do the daddy daughter dance was the fact that when my daughter was younger, she had a daddy daughter dance and I had to work. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna miss this one, but I catch the next one. She probably was like 8 years old, 7 to 8 years old. My daughter's 22 now,
Mm-hmm.
and there never was a next one. You know what I'm saying? And so that was something that I regretted like this whole time, even up to now. And there's been other things that we have been able to do and other experiences we've been able to have together. But that was something that always bothered me. And I don't even think it bothered her, especially at this point. She's like, Dad, I don't know who cares about the daddy daughter dance. But it was something that always stuck with me.
With you,
Right.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
I'm glad that we were able to do the first one this year. And, we're going to do them annually. So I look forward to, doing it again next year. But when you think back on, I know you're still early in your relationship with your daughter. Is there anything now that you look at that you're like, what, maybe I could have did that a little differently? And I know a lot of dads don't like to say regrets, but I just say regrets because that's how I feel. I regret not taking my daughter to that daddy daughter dance. But
Mhm.
even at an early age now with you and your daughter, is there something that, an experience that maybe you had that you was like, man, I could have did that a little better?
Yeah, man, it's so early on. Some of the
Yeah.
things I would share would probably be like little mistakes here and there, but there is something that sticks to me because you talked about the daddy daughter dance. I remember right before she turned 1, I told my wife, I said, man, I want to start this tradition. I don't even know where that idea came from. I like the idea of like I think the time lapse thing where it's like, man, you go back 10 years and 15 years
Yeah.
and 20 years. So I told my wife, hey, on her first birthday, I want to have a dance with her. And then I want to do that up until like the day she gets married. So then I could watch the videos over the past
Right.
20, 30 years, whatever it is, to watch it. And then I think with all her first birthday party and everything that was going on, I didn't do it. I regretted not doing it because I'm like, man, that's a memory that we could have shared, we could have had. And in her second birthday, I didn't do it. In her third birthday, I didn't do it. And I'm just like, why am I not doing it?
Right.
So now that you say that, man, again, it may not mean a whole lot right now, but I think
Mhm.
years down the road, when I look over the years, like, man, I've been dancing with my baby girl, like I've been there with my baby girl. I think that moment will mean a lot. That's the only thing that really pops into mind in terms of regrets, in terms of what I wish I had done that I didn't do. Yeah, that's the only thing I have for right now.
Yeah. And I'll say this, I really especially now that we're talking about it, but I really think that's just a moment that a dad and daughters have that means so much, right? And so
Mhm.
one of the
Yeah.
things that the theme of the daddy daughter dance is for dads and daughters of all ages, right? So even adult daughters, right?
Mhm.
So this year I actually had a friend of mine, and this was why I wanted it to be that way, to that it's open to dads and daughters of all ages, because a friend of mine who her dad had took her to her daddy daughter dance when she was a teenager,
Mhm.
and she was able to bring him to this dance now
Yeah.
as an adult, and have those two pictures to reflect on,
Yeah.
the picture when she was a teenager, going to this dance with her dad, and then now as a grown adult with her own children,
Right.
but
Right.
to
Right.
still have this other moment where she's able to have this new daddy daughter dance, picture, and have both of them as memories and experiences. So I definitely would, encourage you to,
Yeah.
to
For
do that.
sure.
And I'll say this: don't even wait for her birthday.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying? It could
Yeah.
be a Saturday. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But just take that moment and just be like, you know what, we're gonna do this. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And even if you don't do it every year, but when you think about it, just like, all
Just
right,
do it. Yeah.
let's just do it, and you have those memories. And I think that one thing's important is that we take that time to do that, and that's why I share that, because as dads, and we get to moving around and we get to working because we got other responsibilities, that sometimes we just have to make that choice. And so looking back, in hindsight, I'm sure at that time, I had some things that I was working for. I had the family, we had the house, we had, other responsibilities. So it was like, yeah, I need to go to work. But in hindsight, you know, I would say take that moment.
Yeah.
Like if I could
Yeah.
go back and tell myself now, and I would just be like, call off. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Take the point, whatever it is,
Yeah.
but take that moment, because that moment would be more important to you years later than that whatever you made on that day. However
Yeah.
much money you made on that date, it probably was probably was gone before you got the check. You know what I'm saying? But that moment, and I took that moment, and the how much that moment meant would have meant in the at that time, even fast forward to now, would still be priceless. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And so I encourage all our dads take that time out to
Yeah.
spend it with our kids when we get that chance. So let's go kind of on the other side of it, right? And so I think about, my daughter. Like I said, she's 22 now, young college student, honor roll student, through high school and all of that. Definitely made me a proud dad. So one of those things I, look back and look at, you know, at her personality wise and how she's so much like me and driven and things of that nature. I kind of pat myself on the back a little bit, but like, yeah, you did a good job, Dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so even now with your daughter, is there different things that she may have showed you, or different things that she does, or an experience that you just
Yeah.
kind of in the back of your head like, yeah, I did a good job with that one.
Yeah, I think we nurture the kind of environment we provide for both of our children. It allows them to really develop their personality. So one of the things I'm proud of, and I'm just proud of the fact that she's an she's 3, but she's an independent soul. She's hilarious, man. She is hilarious. But I want to take you back real quick because it wasn't we didn't always have the relationship that we have. Although she's 3, I know I'm talking about a 3-year-old. I feel like I'm talking about somebody who's 20, 30, but we've experienced a lot with her. I remember when she was, baby girl, like 2, 3 months old. I remember she didn't want to be around me. Like this is up until I think probably man up until she was like a year old. I would walk into the room and she would just cling to her mother, and she didn't like she didn't she just did I just felt like she didn't like me.
Yeah,
And it was difficult for me because this is my princess. Because they say girls is, this is daddy's girl. And
yeah.
and homegirl just did not like, she would look at me and give me these side-eye looks. And I remember one time I told her mom, I was like, yo, does she think I'm her stepdaddy? What is going on here? I'm her real daddy. And I had to really take time to spend time with my baby girl, and to not, again, to dismantle these expectations that I have. And once I spend more time with her, man, she started coming around. And now she's my little buddy. Like
Yeah.
she'll just see me sitting down and she'll randomly come up and give daddy a kiss and be like, and give me a hug and be like, I love you, daddy. Like those moments, man, they just melt my heart. But it came with me dismantling those expectations and really truly spending time with her and being in a moment with her, and not treating her like, you're supposed to be like this little boy I have, and so on and so forth. It's just about spending that quality time and learning her. So I'm very proud of the fact that, man, she tries to do a lot of things on her own. She's hilarious. She tells jokes all the time. She's a thinker as well. I'll tell you something that she told me today. She was asking me for something, and I told her, well, mommy and I were going to talk about it, and then I'll let you know. And then she said, well, Dad, what do you think? I goes, yeah, we'll talk about it and we'll let you know. And then she goes, Dad, listen to yourself. And I was like, what that mean? And she goes, Dad, listen to yourself. I knew what she meant. She was saying like, I think I know what mommy's going to say,
Right.
but say something else. You don't have to talk to her. And I'm like, I know you're not trying to pin me against my wife, dog. We don't do that
Right.
in this house. But the fact that like she said that, Dad, listen to yourself. I was just like, yeah, this little girl is different, and
Yeah,
she keeps
yeah.
us on our toes, man.
Yeah, and they know, right? So, like you said, she's like, "Hey, I know I can get away with,
Yeah.
saying this with daddy." You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yep.
no, I can't let you talk to mama because mama
Uh-uh.
might block what I'm
Yeah.
trying to do.
That's exactly what she was doing. She was like, nah, I think I know what mommy's gonna say. Daddy, just listen to yourself. I was like, man,
Right?
I know you're not trying to.
Listen, Linda, listen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I love it, man. I
I
love being a
yeah,
dad.
yeah. Yeah, I love that, man. That's great. We're gonna switch it up really quick before we get out of here,
Yeah.
Ralph. We're gonna step into this part of the what the podcast that I call the getting to the core segment. And again, this is based off of the ebook that I wrote called The Four Core,
Mhm.
which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. And so when I talk about those core four values, those values are guidance, affirmations, love and affection, and protection. So of those four values, when it comes to pouring into your daughter, even at the young age that she is now, which of those values is probably more important to you to instill in her?
Yeah. At this age, man, I would have to say love and affection at this age. I think they're all important, of course,
Yeah,
guidance, affirmation, all of that. But love and affection right now, I think is important. And the way that I do that is through time. I heard this
Mhm.
pastor say this. I'll never forget. He said, "Children spell love Time." And it's
Yeah.
with time. So we spend a lot of time with them. We do a lot of activities together. We'll do random things. We'll do arts and crafts night with her. We'll watch a movie together. We'll go out to the park together. We'll ask her, "Hey mama, what do you want to do today? What are some of the things that you enjoy doing?" And then through doing so, we're spending time with her. We're having conversations. We're telling her we love her. We're showing her we love her. I'm hugging on my baby girl. She's giving daddy kisses. All these different things I think are important because what it does is it creates a safe, nurturing environment for her.
Yeah.
So I think that love and affection is incredibly important. And I want her to learn what healthy love is, because the reason why I say that is, my wife and I, we lead the marriage ministry at our church.
Mhm.
And there's couples that have been married for 10 years, 15 years, 2 years, 30 years, and so on and so forth. And some of the women that sometimes when we have these conversations, sometimes we help people go through some difficult times. And
Mhm.
I find sometimes that some of our ladies struggle with loving their spouse properly. And when we ask them and try to, and dig deep and understand what's going on, a lot of times, Ernest, it goes back to the absence of the father in the home. And
Yeah.
they might tell you something like, well, I can't respect this person because I've never really seen what that would look like. It's hard
Yeah.
for me to love because the person that I loved at some point, they weren't there, or they didn't show up the way that they should have. And we just see it, man. We just see a lot of issues with the absence of fathers and how it plays over the course of people's lives. Even though they're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, that gap is still felt, and that gap doesn't always allow them to connect with other people. And so for me, I'm making sure that my baby girl is growing up in an environment where she understands what healthy love should look and feel like
Mhm.
from a father, and even from a man, to
Yep.
really, like, man, baby girl, love is not supposed to hurt. Like
Mhm.
it's not supposed to be weighted. Like, I'm teaching her these things now. I'm teaching her that her worth is not defined by what I say. Another one that you just said is affirmations. Me and both of my kids, we do affirmations all the time. And I remind them that I'm kind, I'm strong, I'm brave, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent, I'm a child of God. I make them repeat that just about every single day, especially my baby girl, because I want her to not let anybody else say something other than what, first of all, her heavenly father has said about her, and then second,
Mhm.
what her parents have said about her. That's the anchor. And so when I think about love and affection, it's making sure that we show her what healthy love looks like. And for her, it's also seeing her mom and dad interact in a healthy manner as well, because that's important too. Because then later on, you can't just you can't just take my baby girl out on a date and think you won her over the world. Daddy has done
Yeah.
that time and time and time and time and time again. Like, you can't tell her what you can't confuse her in what healthy love looks like, because she's seen what healthy love looks like with her mom and her
Right.
dad. And so those things are important to me. I'm doing them now, so that way it's ingrained now, so that way we can set her up for her future as much as we possibly can, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said man, you said a mouthful in that whole thing. And I just want to point out a couple of things, because one of the reasons why, even as I became into the speakers world, or and I'm not necessarily into the speakers world, but definitely into the podcasting space,
Hmm.
was because a couple years ago I noticed that I actually was going through a divorce at the time, and one of the things that I realized was some of the issues that we were facing in our marriage was because of our upbringing. Me coming from a two-parent household and her coming from a single-parent household,
Hmm.
and those dynamics and upbringing, and what it looks like to be a family, and what it looks like to experience a family with a man in the household. You know what I mean? Because me, it's normal for me because my dad was always there. With
Hmm.
her, it's like, she grew up without her dad. So it's like now, even as a blended family, when we came together, it was like, okay, what does this look like? This is
Yeah.
really unfamiliar. Because
Yeah.
number one, you know what I mean? Number one, it was, she didn't have the experience of having a father in her life. And then her sons dad, right, the father of her children, they were married at one time. Well, he didn't have his dad in his life either, and so he was kind of a absent dad at a point. And so now you got me, she getting in a relationship with me, and now I'm coming in with all my experience of my dad being in my life and what that looks like and how I'm supposed to show up, and I'm coming into it that way, and all of that is unfamiliar to her. You know what I mean? And so that is how I even started getting into the podcast space, because I started a page on Instagram called Friend to Fatherless Daughters. And I
Mhm.
was going and kind of give my opinion as being a girl dad, and one of the things that I realized in that era, in that time, that every woman I had ever dated was a fatherless daughter.
Mhm.
Right. And so I started that page just to kind of give my opinion on, fatherless daughters and things that may help them in the long run. And,
Yeah.
people start asking me to be on podcasts, and then fast forward, here we are. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? As far as the podcast space. But those differences, even sometimes they don't even recognize how
Mhm.
much that the absence of their dad played in their personality and played in their upbringing, and the things that they didn't even realize that they missed out on. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And
Yeah.
so it definitely makes a difference. And when I wrote the core four, one of the things that I also, tell dads and young ladies that read it is those four values. Never your daughter, or should I want to say your daughter, but a woman never stops needing that. They
Mhm.
just start they just start looking for it from a different person. Right. So as a dad, you're pouring that into them early, that guidance, that affirmation, that protection. But once she gets older, she still needs those things, but
Yeah.
now she's looking for it from her spouse. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Now she's in a relationship. So now, as a spouse, she's expecting you to still bring those same things, because those same values still, resonate with her in her soul. So she still
Yeah.
needs that. She still needs to be affirmed. She still needs to feel protected. You know what I mean? But now she's still looking for it from her dad, but now she's looking for it from you now,
Yeah.
because now you're in a relationship. And so, yeah, man. So all of that makes a difference.
For
And
sure.
again, that's why I started this podcast, just to kind of talk about those daddy daughter relationships, to highlight those things that a fatherless daughter may be missing, or a young dad that's starting his journey into fatherhood as a girl dad, some of those things he want to pay attention to,
Yeah.
so he don't make the same mistakes that I made,
For sure.
and so that's the whole premise of the podcast. And I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
And
Real
I'll
quick.
just add this, Ernest, and
Mhm.
that's not to say that if you are a father's daughter that you're doomed to fail in relationships. That's not to say
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah.
if we're looking at it, though, we have to admit that there is a gap that exists when we don't see the things that that we would consider the most healthy in a home, right? And that's just for not just for women, but for men as well. There's things that I had to deal with because there's the absence of your mom or your dad, but then there's also the presence of the nonsense too. So
Mhm.
you could grow up in a household where you have both parents, but you saw so much nonsense, you're going to be as unhealthy as a person who grew up not having both of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why for me the key thing is not only be present, but to make sure that we're healthy. Like the
Yeah.
best thing that my wife and I can do for our kids is to make sure that to the best of our ability, we maintain, sustain a healthy environment within us first. And then
Yep.
everything else trickles down to them. But to your point, if there's certain things that I never grew up seeing, let's say, for example, guidance, now like I'm in this relationship and you're trying to provide guidance. I've never experienced it. I've never seen that before. I might call guidance control. I
Mhm.
might call guidance demeaning. I might call it something completely different because I haven't experienced that before. This is new to me. And I feel like you're just trying to control me.
Yeah.
But really is I'm providing guidance because I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But since this is so foreign, it might not feel like it. You know what I mean? So that's why I think conversation, communication, dialogue is so important in these relationships because you don't know what baggage the person is carrying.
Yeah.
You don't know how heavy it is and you don't know how long they've been carrying it. So you have to get to the point where you understand it so that way we can help each other carry those loads. Yeah. So it's important to me, man. I got to make sure my kids they see healthy things, they see beautiful things. They'll see some of the challenges to a degree, because I never want them to think that mommy and daddy are perfect, because we're not.
Right.
But we want to set them up for success. And when it comes to my baby girl, that love and that love and affection is important, because I want her to know what healthy love is.
Yeah, 100%. So the book is called The Core Four, Ralph,
Yeah.
and it's the four core values that I felt was important. But if there could be a fifth value that you could add as a father, what would that fifth value be?
If there's a fifth value, I love it, man. I think the one that's just screaming aloud in my ear is worth.
Mm,
Worth. Like, I want my daughter to know that she is worthy, not because dad said so, not because mom said so, not because her friends say so, but because God said so. She
yeah,
is worthy. Like the word says, before she was born, he knew her. Like, and she was created to do good works. Like, the God is intentional about my daughter. Like, she's here at this time for such a time as this. And so if she understands that her worth is tied in our heavenly father, then when somebody says something about her that challenges that, she's just gonna go back to, well, that ain't what my daddy said, you
right.
know. I think you this. Okay, all right, but that ain't what my daddy said. So I want her to I want her to be, to walk with confidence, walk with boldness, not cockiness, but confidence, knowing that a all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful God created her and finds her worthy. So worth is the one that I would say, that she never ties it to a human being, but she ties it
Mhm.
to her creator.
I love it. I love it. Ralph, I thank you so very much, man, for coming on to for sharing your story, your experience, your expertise
Yeah,
in this area as being a girl dad. I want you to leave us with a word of advice, even for some of our other dads, maybe our new girl dads that just started on this adventure. Some tips or something, word of advice, however you feel.
yeah,
I want you to leave us with that, and also leave us with your social media handles or things of that nature where we can follow you and support you as well. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To my
yeah,
listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure you guys are checking us out, or checking up me out, should I say, on my website, which is the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org, which is our main website, which talks to, kind of goes over everything that I have going on, or should I say, we have going on as an organization. But also at the same time, I want you guys to also check me out on my website, earnestjamesspeakslife.com. Again, that's earnestjamesspeakslife.com, where you guys can find out more about me as a speaker, to have me come out to speak at your school or organization, or even to work to lead a workshop. So make sure you guys go to Ernest James Speak Life.com. Again, that's Ernest James Speaks Life.com. Also, excuse me, we talked about the Core 4 ebook, but I've also written a couple other ebooks, including a male mentoring ebook called From Males to Men. And one that I'm really proud of right now is an ebook that I wrote called Forgiving Me, the 4-step guide to self-forgiveness. So you can find all of those ebooks at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. Make sure you guys go there to get your copy of the Core 4 and check out some of the other ebooks that we have available as well. Also, our inspirational t-shirt line. Our inspirational t-shirts at deal2healtees.com. That's deal, the number 2, healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. So make sure that you guys, make sure that you guys are checking us out on our website, um, checking out our inspiration, the t-shirt lines. And last but not least, over the last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every, actually it's bi-monthly now. So every other month, we have these free virtual workshops talking about everything surrounding forgiveness. forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, even forgiveness of the world. And so I think that forgiveness is a topic that we don't talk enough about. And I think it makes such a difference in our communities and in our personal lives as well. So whenever you're listening to this podcast, either a workshop just ended or a workshop is coming up. So make sure you go to forgivenessmission.com to sign up for our next free virtual workshop. Or you can go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission in order to sign up for that as well. Ralph, again, I want to say thank you so very much for being on, for coming on and sharing your expertise and your experience as a father, as a girl dad. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
For sure. So I would say to all the girl dads out there, man, we cannot outsource our presence. We cannot outsource our presence. We need to be there in these children's lives. And I know sometimes people have complex situations, but to the best of your ability, make sure that your baby girl feels your presence, whether it's through what you do when you take them out, whether it's phone calls, whether it's, FaceTime, whatever it is, we have to be there. Our presence needs to be felt. Why? Because every little girl needs her dad. Every little girl needs her dad for guidance, as Ernest mentioned, for love and affection, for protection, for affirmation. So I would say be there, find ways to make sure that your presence is always felt in their lives. I'm proud of the fact that when I take my children out, man, I see a bunch of dads out there, bro. I see a bunch of dads out there with their kids spending time. So I know we hear the narratives and you can spin things the way that you want. But in my world, man, I actually see a lot of dads present, having fun with their kids, smiling, running around with their kids, taking them to swimming lessons, taking them to sports, taking them to the park, doing all these different things. And if you have the mindset of you want to change the world, you can't do so without changing the environment that you're around. So you got to start with the people that you're closest to have as big of an impact as you would like to. So for me, it's be present. Don't just be there. Don't just show up, but be present, be in the moment, spend that time with them. And I promise you, there will be fruit to your presence.
I love it. I love it. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where our mission is to amplify the voices of girl dads to the world in order to combat the narrative of the absent father and the fatherless daughter. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Hi, guys. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Until then, see you soon. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else. That the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.